Ready to unlock the ins and outs of property ownership and land use? In this video, we'll look at 50 questions covering everything from property rights and zoning laws to land development and environmental impacts. And don't miss what's happening in the bottom corner. It could supercharge your exam prep. We'll tell you more about that in a minute. Now, let's get started.
Let's jump right into types of property ownership. Fee simple, life estates, and leasehold interests. What is the primary characteristic of a fee simple ownership? Is it A, it provides the owner with unlimited rights to use and transfer the property? B, it allows the owner to use the property only during their lifetime? C, it limits the owner's ability to sell the property? Or D, it requires the owner to renew their rights periodically? The answer is A. It provides the owner with unlimited rights to use and transfer the property. Fee simple ownership is the most complete form of property ownership, granting the owner full rights to use, sell, or bequeath the property without limitations, unless restricted by law. Which of the following best describes a life estate? Is it A. It provides perpetual ownership rights? B. It allows the owner to lease the property indefinitely? C. It grants property rights for the duration of the holder's lifetime? Or D. It requires annual renewal of ownership rights? The answer is C. It grants property rights for the duration of the holder's lifetime. A life estate grants the holder rights to use the property for their lifetime, after which the property reverts to another designated party, known as the remainderman.
Have you noticed the code in the bottom corner? Next time you're stumped, take that code to birdsy.ai for immediate help and a free study session with Birdsy, your personal AI study partner. Plus, you'll get access to hundreds of additional questions, helping you move closer to passing your exam with confidence. The next time you're feeling unsure or stuck, give it a try.
Which statement accurately describes a leasehold interest? Is it A. It grants the lessee full ownership rights? B. It allows the lessee to use the property for a defined period? C. It gives the lessee the right to bequeath the property? Or D. It involves ownership that lasts indefinitely? The answer is B. It allows the lessee to use the property for a defined period. Leasehold interest involves renting or leasing property for a specified term, providing the tenant with certain rights and obligations during the lease period, but not ownership. What happens to a property held in a life estate upon the death of the life tenant? Is it A. The property is sold at public auction? B. The property reverts to the state? C. The life tenant's heirs inherit the property? Or D. The property passes to the remainderman? The answer is D. The property passes to the remainderman. Upon the life tenant's death, the property automatically passes to the remainderman, who holds the remainder interest, unless otherwise stated in the agreement. Which of the following is a key difference between fee simple and leasehold interests? Is it A. Fee simple is indefinite, while leasehold is limited in duration? B. Both provide the same ownership rights? C. Leasehold interests are always more expensive? Or D. Fee simple requires periodic renewal? The answer is A. Fee simple is indefinite, while leasehold is limited in duration. Fee simple ownership grants indefinite rights to the owner, while leasehold interests provide rights for a limited term, typically involving periodic rent payments to the property owner. Joint tenancy, tenancy in common, and tenancy by the entirety. Which type of property ownership allows each owner to have an equal share and includes the right of survivorship? Is it A. Joint tenancy? B. Tenancy in common? C. Tenancy by the entirety? Or D. Sole ownership? The answer is A. Joint tenancy. Joint tenancy allows each owner to have an equal share and includes the right of survivorship. meaning if one owner dies, their share automatically transfers to the surviving owners. What is a key feature of joint tenancy in property ownership? Is it A, each owner can will their share to anyone? B, right of survivorship is included? C, owners can have unequal shares? Or D, it is only available to married couples? The answer is B, right of survivorship is included. Joint tenancy includes the right of survivorship, meaning if one owner dies, their share automatically transfers to the surviving owners, bypassing probate. This feature distinguishes it from other types of ownership. Which type of property ownership allows owners to have unequal shares? Is it A, tenancy in common? B, joint tenancy? C, tenancy by the entirety? Or D, community property? The answer is A, tenancy in common. Tenancy in common allows owners to hold unequal shares in a property. Each owner's share can be sold or transferred independently, and there's no right of survivorship. Which type of ownership is exclusively available to married couples? Is it A, joint tenancy? B, tenancy in common? C, tenancy by the entirety? Or D, community property? The answer is C, tenancy by the entirety. Tenancy by the entirety is a form of ownership available only to married couples. It provides rights of survivorship and protects the property from individual creditors of one spouse. Which statement is true about tenancy in common? Is it A, it includes the right of survivorship? B, all owners must agree to sell their shares? C, it is only for family members? Or D, owners can sell their interest independently? The answer is D, owners can sell their interest independently. In tenancy in common, co-owners have the right to sell or transfer their interest without the consent of other owners. This flexibility is a key feature of this ownership type.
If you're finding this helpful, please take a minute to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, useful tips, and complimentary study sessions with Birdsy.
Condominiums, cooperatives, and planned unit developments. What is the primary difference between a condominium and a cooperative in terms of ownership? Is it A, condominium owners own shares in a corporation? B, condominium owners own their individual units directly? C, cooperative owners own their individual units directly? Or D, both have the same ownership structure? The answer is B, condominium owners own their individual units directly. In a condominium, individuals own their units and share ownership of common areas, while in a cooperative, residents own shares in a corporation that owns the entire property. Which of the following is a characteristic of a planned unit development? Is it A, PUDs only consist of residential units? B, PUDs have rigid zoning regulations? C, PUDs are exclusively for commercial use? Or D, PUDs integrate mixed-use development? The answer is D, PUDs integrate mixed-use development. PUDs offer a mix of residential, commercial, and recreational spaces, often with flexible zoning regulations, to create a cohesive community with diverse amenities. Why might a cooperative be more challenging to finance than a condominium? Is it A, cooperatives have no financial obligations? B, lenders prefer the risk associated with cooperatives? C, cooperatives involve shared financial responsibility? Or D, condominiums have higher interest rates? The answer is C, cooperatives involve shared financial responsibility. Cooperatives can be harder to finance because lenders view them as riskier due to the shared responsibility of the corporation's mortgage and financial stability. Which of the following best describes a condominium association's role? Is it A, manages common areas and enforces rules? B, owns each individual unit? C, provides individual property insurance? Or D, handles personal disputes between owners? The answer is A, manages common areas and enforces rules. A condominium association manages common areas, enforces rules, and oversees maintenance, funded by fees collected from unit owners for shared responsibilities. Let's continue with a review of land use controls and zoning. Public versus private land use controls. Which of the following is a key difference between public and private land use controls? Is it A, both are enforced by government agencies? B, public controls are government-imposed, private controls are agreement-based? C, private controls take precedence over public controls? Or D, both control land use in the same manner? The answer is B, public controls are government-imposed, private controls are agreement-based. Public land use controls are typically enforced by government entities through zoning laws, while private land use controls are established by private agreements such as covenants, conditions, and restrictions. What is the primary purpose of zoning laws in land use control? Is it A, to organize urban development and protect property values? B, to allow unrestricted use of all land? C, to eliminate all private land use controls? Or D, to ensure all land is used for commercial purposes? The answer is A, to organize urban development and protect property values. Zoning laws are designed to organize urban development by designating specific areas for residential, commercial, industrial, and other uses to ensure orderly growth and protect property values. Which entity typically enforces private land use controls? Is it A, local government zoning boards? B, federal government agencies? C, homeowners associations or private parties? Or D, state legislatures? The answer is C, homeowners associations or private parties. Private land use controls, such as covenants, are usually enforced by homeowners associations or through legal action by affected private parties. What is a restrictive covenant in the context of land use? Is it A, a zoning regulation enforced by the city? B, a type of public land use control? C, an agreement that increases property taxes? Or D, a private agreement limiting property use? The answer is D, a private agreement limiting property use. A restrictive covenant is a private agreement that limits the use or activities on a property, often to maintain the character of a neighborhood or development. In what scenario might a variance be granted in zoning laws? Is it A, when strict compliance causes undue hardship? B, to allow any property use desired by the owner? C, when a property owner wants to increase property taxes? Or D, to enforce stricter zoning regulations? The answer is A, when strict compliance causes undue hardship. A variance allows deviation from zoning requirements, typically granted when strict compliance would cause undue hardship due to unique property circumstances without undermining the zoning plan. Zoning laws and land use regulations. What is the primary purpose of zoning laws in urban planning? Is it A, to increase property taxes? B, to separate incompatible land uses? C, to encourage commercial development? Or D, to reduce traffic congestion? The answer is B, to separate incompatible land uses. Zoning laws are designed to regulate land use to ensure the orderly development of communities. They separate incompatible land uses, such as industrial and residential, to maintain public welfare and safety. How do zoning ordinances typically affect residential property development? Is it A, they determine the exact architectural style? B, they set property tax rates? C, they regulate building height and setbacks? Or D, they mandate green energy usage? The answer is C, they regulate building height and setbacks. Zoning ordinances dictate the permissible use of land, including building height, lot size, and setbacks. These regulations ensure that residential areas are developed in a way that is consistent with community standards. Which of the following is a common feature of a zoning variance? Is it A, it provides relief from strict zoning requirements? B, it automatically changes the zoning classification? C, it is granted without any application process? Or D, it is used to increase property tax revenue? The answer is A, it provides relief from strict zoning requirements. A zoning variance allows property owners to deviate from certain zoning requirements. It is typically granted when strict enforcement would cause unnecessary hardship not self-imposed by the property owner. What is a nonconforming use in the context of zoning regulations? Is it A, a use that violates zoning laws? B, a temporary use permit? C, a use that is exempt from zoning laws? Or D, a pre-existing use that doesn't conform to new zoning? The answer is D, a pre-existing use that doesn't conform to new zoning. A non-conforming use occurs when a property's existing use does not comply with current zoning laws but is allowed to continue because it predated the zoning change. This ensures fairness to property owners. In zoning terms, what is a conditional use permit? Is it A, a permit for temporary construction? B, a permit allowing a use not typically permitted? C, a permit for emergency services? Or D, a permit that changes zoning classification? The answer is B, a permit allowing a use not typically permitted. A conditional use permit allows a property to be used in a way not typically permitted under current zoning laws, provided certain conditions are met. It is often granted for uses beneficial to the community.
Stuck on a question? Just think of the Birdsy link in the description as your friendly neighborhood superhero, swooping in to save the day with answers. Feel free to explore it now and return to continue. Simply hit pause, and we'll be waiting when you get back.
Nonconforming use, variances, and conditional use permits. What is a nonconforming use in the context of land use and zoning? Is it A, a use that is always prohibited by zoning laws? B, a use that was legally established under previous zoning regulations? C, a temporary use permitted under current zoning laws? Or D, a use that is exempt from zoning regulations? The answer is B, a use that was legally established under previous zoning regulations. A nonconforming use occurs when a property's use does not comply with current zoning regulations, but was legally established under previous zoning laws. It is typically allowed to continue unless the use is abandoned. What is a variance in zoning terms? Is it A, a legal exception to zoning ordinances? B, a temporary suspension of zoning laws? C, a change in zoning classification? Or D, a conditionally approved use? The answer is A, a legal exception to zoning ordinances. A variance is a legal exception to zoning ordinances, allowing property use that deviates from zoning requirements. Typically granted when strict enforcement would cause undue hardship, variances are case-specific. Which of the following best describes a conditional use permit? Is it A, a permit to build a non-conforming structure? B, an automatic approval for any land use? C, a permanent change in zoning classification? Or D, a permit allowing specific use under certain conditions? The answer is D, a permit allowing specific use under certain conditions. A conditional use permit allows a property to be used in a way that is not typically permitted under current zoning laws, contingent on meeting specific conditions to mitigate potential impacts. Why might a property owner seek a variance from zoning regulations? Is it A, to change the zoning classification of their property? B, to avoid paying higher property taxes? C, to alleviate undue hardship caused by strict zoning enforcement? Or D, to increase the market value of their property? The answer is C, to alleviate undue hardship caused by strict zoning enforcement. Property owners seek variances to address unique circumstances where strict zoning enforcement would cause undue hardship or practical difficulties, often due to the property's physical characteristics. Let's take a look at easements, encroachments, and liens. Types of easements: appurtenant, gross, prescription, necessity. Which type of easement is typically created for the benefit of a neighboring property and transfers with the property title? Is it A, appurtenant easement, B, easement in gross, C, prescriptive easement, or D, easement by necessity? The answer is A, appurtenant easement. An appurtenant easement benefits a specific parcel of land, enhancing its use or value. It is attached to the land and transfers with the property when sold. What distinguishes an easement in gross from other types of easements? Is it A, it transfers with the property, B, it benefits a person or entity, C, it requires hostile use, or D, it is necessary for land access? The answer is B, it benefits a person or entity. An easement in gross benefits a person or entity rather than a specific parcel of land. It is personal to the holder and does not transfer with the property. How is a prescriptive easement typically acquired? Is it A, by land purchase, B, through a written agreement, C, by continuous and open use, or D, through necessity for access? The answer is C, by continuous and open use. A prescriptive easement is acquired through continuous, open, and notorious use of another's property without permission for a period defined by state law, usually 5 to 20 years. Which type of easement might be created when a property is landlocked and requires access to a public road? Is it A, appurtenant easement, B, easement in gross, C, prescriptive easement, or D, easement by necessity? The answer is D, easement by necessity. An easement by necessity is often granted when a property owner has no legal access to their land, typically to ensure access to a public road. Which of the following is a key characteristic of an appurtenant easement? Is it A, it transfers with the property, B, it benefits an individual, C, it is acquired through use, or D, it is necessary for access? The answer is A, it transfers with the property. Appurtenant easements are attached to the land, benefiting a dominant estate and burdening a servient estate, and they transfer with the property when sold. Easement creation, termination, and rights. What is a primary method for creating an easement? Is it A, written agreement, B, verbal agreement, C, adverse possession, or D, public use? The answer is A, written agreement. An easement is often created through a written agreement between parties, ensuring legal recognition and enforceability. This method is common because it provides clear documentation of rights and responsibilities. Which of the following can terminate an easement? Is it A, change of property ownership, B, mutual agreement, C, partial use by dominant party, or D, construction of a new structure? The answer is B, mutual agreement. An easement can be terminated by mutual agreement, where both parties consent to end the easement, which is often documented in writing to avoid future disputes. What right does the dominant estate have in an easement appurtenant? Is it A, ownership of servient estate, B, right to sell the servient estate, C, right to use the servient estate, or D, right to modify the servient estate? The answer is C, right to use the servient estate. In an easement appurtenant, the dominant estate has the right to use the servient estate for a specific purpose, such as access, which is the essence of this type of easement.
Don't forget to comment below with your tips, challenges, and thoughts on exam preparation. Your experiences can make a big difference for others.
Encroachments and their impact on property rights. Which of the following best describes an encroachment in real estate? Is it A, a legal right to use another's land for a specific purpose? B, a claim against a property due to unpaid debts? C, an unauthorized intrusion onto a neighbor's property? Or D, a formal agreement to allow property use? The answer is C, an unauthorized intrusion onto a neighbor's property. An encroachment occurs when a structure or extension intrudes onto a neighbor's property without permission. This can lead to disputes and legal actions to resolve the property boundary issues. What impact can an encroachment have on property rights? Is it A, it can lead to legal disputes over property boundaries? B, it automatically grants easement rights to the encroacher? C, it increases the value of the encroached property? Or D, it has no impact on property rights? The answer is A, it can lead to legal disputes over property boundaries. Encroachments can lead to disputes over property boundaries, potentially resulting in legal actions to resolve ownership or usage rights, affecting the marketability and overall value of the properties involved. How might an encroachment be resolved if it is discovered during a property sale? Is it A, ignoring the encroachment to expedite the sale? B, negotiating an easement or boundary adjustment? C, automatically nullifying the sale agreement? Or D, transferring the encroachment liability to the buyer? The answer is B, negotiating an easement or boundary adjustment. Resolution of encroachments may involve legal actions, removal of the encroachment, or reaching an agreement, such as granting an easement or boundary adjustment, to clear title issues and facilitate property sale. Now, let's look at government rights in land, eminent domain, and the process of condemnation. What is the primary purpose of the government's power of eminent domain? Is it A, to increase government revenue through land sales? B, to acquire private land for public use? C, to settle disputes between private landowners? Or D, to regulate land use through zoning laws? The answer is B, to acquire private land for public use. Eminent domain allows the government to acquire private land for public use, ensuring that necessary public services and infrastructure can be developed. Compensation is provided to the landowner. Which of the following is a requirement for the government to exercise eminent domain? Is it A, the land must be intended for public use? B, the land must be abandoned? C, the owner must consent to the sale? Or D, the land must be environmentally contaminated? The answer is A, the land must be intended for public use. For eminent domain to be exercised, the land must be intended for public use, and the landowner must receive just compensation, ensuring fairness and legality. What is the process called when the government formally takes private land under eminent domain? Is it A, confiscation? B, expropriation? C, condemnation? Or D, appropriation? The answer is C, condemnation. The process of condemnation is the legal procedure through which the government exercises its power of eminent domain to acquire private land for public use. How is just compensation determined in the process of eminent domain? Is it A, based on the owner's purchase price? B, based on the property's tax assessment? C, based on the government's budget? Or D, based on fair market value? The answer is D, based on fair market value. Just compensation is typically determined by fair market value, which considers the property's worth based on current market conditions, ensuring the owner receives a fair price. Police power, building codes, and environmental regulations. Which of the following best describes police power in the context of real estate? Is it A, the power to seize private land for public use? B, the authority to regulate land use for public welfare? C, the ability to tax property owners? Or D, the right to enforce private property covenants? The answer is B, the authority to regulate land use for public welfare. Police power allows the government to enforce laws to promote public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. It is a fundamental aspect of land use and zoning regulations. What is the primary purpose of building codes? Is it A, to ensure safety and health standards in construction? B, to increase property values through improved aesthetics? C, to regulate the use of land for commercial purposes? Or D, to facilitate the collection of property taxes? The answer is A, to ensure safety and health standards in construction. Building codes ensure the safety and health of the public by setting minimum construction standards. They are designed to protect occupants and the community from hazards. How do environmental regulations impact land use? Is it A, by promoting unrestricted development? B, by reducing the need for zoning laws? C, by imposing restrictions to protect natural resources? Or D, by enhancing property rights for landowners? The answer is C, by imposing restrictions to protect natural resources. Environmental regulations protect natural resources and public health by restricting harmful activities. They ensure sustainable development and prevent environmental degradation. What is a common effect of zoning laws on property development? Is it A, they eliminate the need for building permits? B, they increase the flexibility of land use? C, they allow for mixed-use developments without restrictions? Or D, they separate incompatible land uses? The answer is D, they separate incompatible land uses. Zoning laws regulate the types of structures that can be built in certain areas, ensuring orderly development and separation of incompatible land uses like residential and industrial.
Notice the code in the corner? When you're stumped by a question, enter it at birdsy.ai for immediate help. Enjoy complimentary study sessions and access to hundreds of additional questions to help you pass your exam with confidence.
Taxation and special assessments. Which government power allows for the imposition of property taxes on real estate? Is it A, B, eminent domain, C, police power, or D, S-sheet? The answer is A. The power of taxation is a fundamental government right that enables authorities to impose taxes on property to fund public services. This power is crucial for maintaining infrastructure and public welfare. What is the primary purpose of special assessments on properties? Is it A, to penalize non-compliant property owners? B, to fund specific improvements benefiting the property? C, to increase property values uniformly? Or D, to support general municipal budgets? The answer is B, to fund specific improvements benefiting the property. Special assessments are levied to fund specific public projects that benefit a particular group of properties. These assessments ensure that those who benefit from improvements contribute to the costs. How does the concept of ad valorem relate to property taxation? Is it A, it sets a flat tax rate for all properties? B, it exempts properties from taxation? C, it calculates taxes based on property value? Or D, it applies only to commercial properties? The answer is C, it calculates taxes based on property value. Ad valorem means according to value, and it is a common basis for property taxation. Taxes are calculated based on the assessed value of the property, ensuring a fair distribution of tax burden.
Thanks for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, tips, and tricks. And don't forget to visit Birdsy.ai for complimentary study sessions with Birdsy, your AI-powered study partner.